Today, pause for a moment, take a breath, place your hand over your heart, because if you are seeing this message, God is not reminding you of where you are. He is preparing you for where you are going. There are no accidents in life. There are no coincidences. When God says congratulations, He is not celebrating what you have already received. He is acknowledging that you were strong enough to survive. Everything that was meant to break you, you are here today because you did not give up. When you open your eyes and encounter a message like God said congratulations, if you see this today, it is not just a line of text on a screen. It is a reflection of the inner alignment forming inside you. People underestimate how the universe communicates. They think signs come with thunder, lightning, or dramatic visions. But in reality, the most meaningful signs come quietly, softly, and subtly, appearing at the exact moment when your mind is finally still enough to notice them. This is why seeing this message today matters. It means something within you is awakening, shifting, aligning in a way it did not before. It means your spirit has reached a point where you are ready not only to see but to understand, and not only to hear but to receive. There are billions of people in this world, countless timelines, endless distractions, and millions of moments spinning at every second. Yet this one specific moment found you. This message reached you. Ask yourself why. Ask yourself what energy inside you allowed this particular sentence to stand out when so many others have passed by unnoticed. When Shahini speaks of awareness, he says that awareness is not something you step into. It is something you return to. You were always meant to see the signs, but you were not always prepared to interpret them. Today, something is different. Today, when God says congratulations, He is congratulating you for returning to awareness, returning to clarity, returning to the path that was always yours. People go through life with eyes open, but vision closed. They see the world, but they do not perceive it. They witness movement, but they do not understand its meaning. They search outward for answers that can only be found inward. But when the spirit shifts, truly shifts, everything becomes symbolic. Every message becomes a mirror. Every sign becomes a teacher. And when you see this message today, God is recognizing that you have reached a point of internal stillness where external signs can finally land. This is not something ordinary. This is not something random. This is a moment of resonance. The message aligns with your energy because your energy has elevated to a frequency where truth can pass through without distortion. Think about everything you have lived through to arrive here. Think about the confusion, the setbacks, the heartbreaks, the disappointment, the unanswered questions, the pain you carried silently in your chest. None of this was meaningless. Every moment shaped your awareness, sharpened your perception, and refined your sensitivity to the signs around you. There were times when you felt lost, times when you felt abandoned, times when you believed you were walking alone, but you were never alone. You were being guided through experiences that taught you how to listen, not with your ears, but with your spirit. Today, when you read this message, your spirit responds because it recognizes the language of divine timing. It is said that the teacher appears when the student is ready. But readiness is not a decision. Readiness is a frequency. A person becomes ready not when they say they are, but when their energy has risen to a level where they can accept guidance without resisting it. When you see this message today, your readiness is being revealed. You may not feel prepared. You may not feel strong. You may not feel confident. But clarity is not measured by emotion. It is measured by alignment. Just because you doubt yourself does not mean you are unprepared. Just because you feel uncertainty does not mean you lack direction. Sometimes the most powerful moments of growth arise when you feel the least capable. This is because your spirit is expanding beyond the comfort of your old identity. When God says congratulations, He is congratulating you for being willing to move beyond who you were. Many people will scroll past messages like this without thinking, without feeling, without connecting. They are not wrong. They are simply not ready. Some will ignore it. Some will dismiss it. Some will laugh at it. But you, the one reading this right now, your heart paused. Your breathing shifted. Something inside you leaned closer. That is alignment. That is awareness. That is spiritual maturity. And you must not underestimate what that means. It means your soul is awakening to its own potential. It means your intuition is no longer silent. It means you are beginning to understand that life is not happening to you. It is happening through you. You are not a passive participant. You are an active creator. When you see a divine sign at the right moment, it is not the sign that has changed. It is you. The message may have existed long before, but it becomes visible when your consciousness is ready to integrate it. This is why timing matters more than content. The same words that meant nothing yesterday become meaningful today because your internal landscape has shifted. It is like hearing wisdom that previously sounded like noise. But now as you stand here more aware, more open, more aligned, the meaning enters you clearly. God says congratulations, not because you have achieved something externally, but because you have evolved internally. Growth is not measured by material success, but by spiritual readiness. There is a moment in everyone's life where awareness begins to bloom like a lotus rising through muddy water. The mud represents confusion, pain, fear, and uncertainty. But the lotus symbolizes awakening, purity, and insight. You have been moving through the mud for a long time, perhaps believing you were stuck, perhaps feeling like progress was impossible. But today, the lotus breaks the surface. This message is the surface, your perception of it. It is the bloom, and God's congratulations is the recognition that you have emerged from the unseen struggle with greater clarity than you had before. When Shahini speaks about awareness, he describes it as a light that exists within every person, but often hidden beneath layers of noise and distraction. That light is now shining more clearly in you. Awareness does not grow in comfort. It grows in discomfort, in stillness, in silence, in reflection, in struggle. Every time you questioned your path, every time you doubted yourself, every time you felt the weight of uncertainty, these were the moments that strengthened your awareness. Without realizing it, you were training your spirit to notice the subtle signs, the small messages, the gentle whispers that once passed unnoticed. Today you noticed. That is why this message matters. When God says congratulations, He is not congratulating you on a random achievement. He is acknowledging your inner readiness. He is acknowledging your ability to recognize alignment. He is acknowledging your willingness to listen to the guidance that once felt distant. You do not arrive at such a moment by accident. You arrive here because something inside you has matured. You have reached a level of sensitivity, openness, and awareness that allows divine guidance to reach you without being blocked by fear, doubt, or past experiences. Today, you may feel the urge to question why this message feels so personal. You may wonder why it resonates so deeply. You may even feel emotional, as if a part of you long ignored has suddenly been seen. This is because the message is speaking to the part of you that has been waiting to be acknowledged. That part of you that carried the weight quietly. That part of you that continued forward even when you felt broken. That part of you that tried again and again despite the fear of failure. That part of you that kept believing when everyone else doubted. God is saying congratulations to the version of you that endured silently, patiently, consistently. The version of you that refused to give up even when giving up felt easier. Every person has a moment in life when the path becomes clearer, when the inner voice grows louder, when the signs become more vivid for you. That moment is today. Not because today is special on its own, but because you have grown into someone capable of receiving the truth hidden within it. The message, congratulations, if you see this today, is not about luck. It is about readiness. It is about spiritual evolution. It is about recognizing that you are no longer blind to your own journey. You are becoming someone who sees the deeper meaning behind simple moments. Someone who understands that guidance arrives in quiet ways. Someone who feels the connection between the seen and the unseen. If you feel a sense of warmth, hope, or clarity rising within you right now, do not ignore it. That feeling is confirmation. It is the evidence of your alignment. It is the sign that your spirit recognizes something your mind is still processing. This message resonates because your soul knows its truth, and God is congratulating you because your soul is awakening. Not slowly, not gradually, but decisively. In this moment, you have stepped into a higher level of awareness where your life will no longer be guided by fear, but by alignment. You are beginning to see that every challenge was a lesson. Every delay was protection. Every disappointment was redirection. The awareness that allows you to understand this is the same awareness that allows you to receive this message today. When God says congratulations, He is acknowledging your growth, your resilience, your awakening, your inner shift. He is reminding you that the moment you become aware, everything in your life begins to transform. And now here you stand reading words that feel like they were meant exactly for you. Because they were, not because of who wrote them, not because of coincidence, but because your spirit is finally aligned with the frequency of guidance. You are no longer just living, you are awakening. You are no longer just seeing, you are perceiving. You are no longer just existing, you are evolving. And God sees this. God recognizes this. And today in divine timing, He says to you, congratulations, you are ready. Everything you have walked through, every silent battle that forced you to grow, every painful season that made you question your strength, every disappointment that felt like a closed door, none of it was punishment. It was preparation. When you understand this truth, something inside you shifts. You stop asking, why is this happening to me? And instead whisper, what is this teaching me? And in that moment of awareness, you begin to see that God was not testing you to break you. He was training you to build you. He was strengthening parts of you that you didn't even know existed. He was carving depth into your character, carving clarity into your purpose, and carving resilience into your spirit. Most people look at pain as something to avoid, something to run from, something to fear. But those who walk the spiritual path, those who elevate their awareness, those who choose to grow, discover that pain is not the enemy. Pain is the sculptor. Pain is the instructor. Pain is the master that carves wisdom into the soul. Sihini often says that the hardest paths produce the strongest individuals because struggle reveals strength that comfort could never uncover. And everything you endured, every night you felt alone, every moment you held yourself together while no one noticed, every time life forced you to start again, was shaping you into someone capable of receiving what you once prayed for. Think back to the times you felt weak, the nights when you cried quietly because you didn't want anyone to see your vulnerability. The days when your smile was a mask that hid the exhaustion underneath. You may have believed you were breaking, but in reality you were being tempered like steel. Pressure does not destroy steel, it strengthens it. Fire does not weaken gold, it purifies it. The storms that hit you were not meant to drown you. They were meant to cleanse your path. The delays you faced were not setbacks. They were divine pacing. You were not being punished. You were being prepared for the person you were meant to become. Every season of your life has brought you to this moment. The confusion, the heartbreak, the betrayal, the loss, the rejection, they forced you to look inward. They pushed you to reach depths of strength, clarity, and patience that you never would have explored otherwise. You learned how to endure quietly, how to trust without evidence, how to walk even when the path was dark. And through it all, God watched. He observed every tear you wiped away before anyone noticed. He observed every time you kept going when everything inside you screamed to stop. He observed every time you chose hope instead of surrender. And today, when He says congratulations, He is acknowledging not your victory, but your endurance. Survival is not accidental. It is intentional. It is the result of resilience, even when you didn't realize you were being resilient. At times you thought you were weak because you felt tired. But strength is not defined by the absence of tiredness. It is defined by the choice to rise despite it. There were moments when you thought you were losing, but survival itself is victory. Making it through the storm is victory. Waking up with hope after a night of despair is victory. Choosing to heal instead of harden is victory. God is not congratulating you because everything is perfect. He is congratulating you because despite everything that went wrong, you never surrendered your spirit. There are battles no one knew you were fighting. The world saw your calm face, but God saw the war inside your soul. The world saw your silence, but God heard your prayers. The world saw your struggle, but God knew your strength. And today you stand here reading these words because you survived things that destroyed others. You overcame storms that were meant to break you. You walked through darkness and still kept your heart open. Do you understand how rare that is? To experience pain and still be capable of love. To face loss and still be capable of hope. To be wounded and still be capable of rising. People talk about strength as if it is loud, forceful, visible. But true strength is quiet. True strength is waking up after being shattered. True strength is trusting again after being betrayed. True strength is believing in tomorrow when today felt unbearable. True strength is carrying pain with grace until God transforms it into wisdom. And your journey has given you that strength, not because your life was easy, but because your spirit refused to break. When Shan Yi trains his students, he does not give them easy tasks. He challenges them, pushes them, exposes their weaknesses, not to shame them, but to awaken them. Growth requires discomfort. Strength requires resistance. Awareness requires confrontation with truth. And God has used life itself as your training ground. Every hardship increased your capacity. Every setback increased your resilience. Every disappointment increased your wisdom. Every heartbreak expanded your compassion. You are not the same person you used to be. And that is not an accident. You were shaped by the very storms you thought would destroy you. Think of the moments you thought you wouldn't make it. The moments when your heart was heavy, your mind was tired, your soul felt overwhelmed. You didn't know it then, but those were the moments your spirit grew the most. Those were the moments that built your discipline, strengthened your patience, deepened your faith. You did not fail in those moments. You were transformed by them. Survival was not a sign of chance. It was a sign of divine training. God does not prepare you in comfort. He prepares you in challenge. He prepares you in the uncertainty that tests your trust. He prepares you in the silence that tests your patience. He prepares you in the storms that test your resilience. You survived not because you were lucky, but because you were chosen to survive. You were chosen for the path you are on. You were chosen for the growth you are experiencing. You were chosen for the future that is coming, and your survival was a necessary part of that preparation. Nothing you went through was wasted. Not the heartbreak, not the loneliness, not the confusion, not the years of waiting, not the uncertainty, not the tears. Every moment had meaning even when you didn't understand it. Every chapter was connected even when it felt isolated. Every challenge contributed to your evolution. Even when it felt like punishment, life teaches through contrast. You understand joy because you experienced sorrow. You value peace because you endured chaos. You appreciate growth because you survived stagnation. You recognize blessings because you lived through seasons where it felt like nothing was working. When you read the words, God said, congratulations. If you see this today, you are not being praised for where you are. You are being honored for everything you survived to arrive here. You are being acknowledged for continuing, for persisting, for refusing to give up. You are being recognized for the courage that kept you moving forward in moments of exhaustion. You are being congratulated because you now stand on the other side of battles that once seemed impossible. And now that you have survived, God is preparing you to rise. There were moments when you questioned whether God heard you. You wondered why certain things happened, why certain people hurt you, why certain opportunities vanished. But now with greater awareness, you can see that rejection redirected you, delay protected you, loss refined you, pain awakened you. Nothing was taken from you without giving you something in return. Strength, clarity, direction, wisdom, growth. These gifts cannot be bought. They can only be earned through experience. And you earn them through survival. You are stronger now. You are wiser. You are more aware. You see people differently. You understand life differently. You move differently. And all of this is the result of what you have endured. You are no longer naive. You no longer trust blindly. You no longer chase what drains you. You no longer hold on to what hurts you. You no longer allow your worth to be determined by others. The battles you faced gave you discernment, one of the greatest spiritual gifts. And now you stand at a point in your life where the version of you that once suffered is no longer here. A stronger version has emerged, and God sees that version. He sees the resilience in your eyes. He sees the wisdom in your patience. He sees the strength in your silence. He sees the determination in your spirit. And today, with divine clarity, He says, congratulations, you survived what was meant to prepare you, not destroy you, not punish you, prepare you for better relationships, prepare you for bigger opportunities, prepare you for deeper love, prepare you for spiritual elevation, prepare you for your calling, prepare you for the blessings that require strength to hold. Your journey is far from over. But now you walk forward not as a wounded soul, but as a prepared one. Not as someone who fears the storm, but someone who understands it. Not as someone who doubts their path, but someone who trusts the timing. Not as someone who breaks under pressure, but someone who grows from it. Everything you went through was shaping you into this moment, and you deserve to acknowledge the strength that carried you here today. You read these words with deeper understanding because your spirit recognizes their truth. You feel them not just in your mind, but in your heart because you lived them. You survived the seasons that were meant to train you. And today, God honors that survival. He sees your scars as proof of your strength. He sees your growth as proof of your purpose. He sees your resilience as proof that you were not defeated but refined. And now you stand here ready, not because the road was easy, but because you walked it anyway. Strong, not because life was gentle, but because you endured prepared. Not because you escaped struggle, but because you faced it. You are exactly where you are meant to be. And today God says with love, with clarity, with divine certainty, congratulations, you survived your preparation. Now you are ready for what comes next. There comes a moment in life when you realize that all the chasing, all the forcing, all the pushing, all the running after people, opportunities and answers was never meant to be your path. You were conditioned to chase because the world told you that nothing comes unless you run after it. But the deeper truth, the one understood by the spiritually awakened, is that blessings are not attracted by desperation. They are attracted by alignment. And when God says, congratulations, if you see this today, It is because you have reached the point in your journey where you no longer have to chase what belongs to you. You are becoming the version of yourself who naturally attracts what is meant for your life. Most people exhaust themselves trying to grab what is not theirs. They exhaust their spirit holding on to people who drain them, opportunities that shrink them, and situations that limit their potential. They move through life believing that effort must always feel like struggle, that success must always feel like war, that love must always feel like pursuit. But you, standing here reading this message, are learning something different, something deeper, something liberating. You are learning that your next chapter is not about running. It is about receiving. Not because you stopped caring, but because you stopped forcing. Not because you gave up, but because you grew up. Not because you lost interest, but because you discovered your worth. When Shihini speaks about alignment, he describes it as the natural, effortless flow that emerges when your inner world matches the direction you wish your outer world to go. You cannot attract peace while carrying chaos inside you. You cannot attract clarity while feeding confusion. You cannot attract love while holding on to broken pieces of who you used to be. And you cannot attract blessings while being disconnected from the source that provides them. Alignment is not something you chase. It is something you become. And today God says, congratulations, because you are becoming aligned not perfectly, not fully, but authentically. And authenticity is the beginning of attraction. Think about everything you used to chase. You chased validation because you didn't yet see your own value. You chased love because you were afraid to stand alone. You chased success because you believed your worth depended on achievement. You chased answers because silence felt uncomfortable. You chased people because you believed losing them meant losing yourself. But now your awareness is opening. Your spirit is maturing. Your heart is awakening, and you are beginning to understand that what is meant for you is not something you need to run after. It is something you allow to come to you. There is a difference between working for something and chasing something. Work is healthy. Work is discipline. Work is intention. But chasing is fear. Chasing is scarcity. Chasing is the belief that you are not enough unless you capture something outside yourself. And God does not want you to live like a chaser. He wants you to live like a receiver. A receiver is someone who trusts, someone who moves with clarity, someone who does their part but never forces what is not meant, someone who understands timing, someone who flows, someone who listens to intuition, someone who allows. And allowing is the highest form of faith. When you chased, your energy was scattered. You were constantly drained, constantly second-guessing, constantly anxious, constantly comparing, constantly trying to control outcomes. But now look at you. You are entering a season where your energy is collected, centered, grounded. You are learning to breathe again, to pause again, to listen again, to trust again. And when your energy shifts from frantic to focused, from desperate to calm, from chasing to allowing, everything around you begins to shift as well. People feel it, opportunities feel it, the universe feels it, God feels it, and blessings start moving toward you because your energy is now prepared to hold them. The world teaches you to chase. Spirituality teaches you to attract. Attraction is not magic. It is not luck. It is alignment. It is the outward reflection of inner balance. When your heart is clean, your mind is clear, and your intentions are pure, life begins to cooperate with you. You stop running after doors and start attracting the ones that open for you effortlessly. You stop begging for attention and attract people who see your value without being told. You stop trying to prove yourself and attract opportunities that recognize your talent naturally. You stop trying to be chosen and become the one who chooses selectively, wisely, peacefully. God is congratulating you because you reached a point where you are no longer operating from fear. Fear makes you chase. Abundance makes you attract. Fear makes you cling. Faith makes you open. Fear makes you force. Alignment makes you receive. And today, for perhaps the first time in your life, you are ready to receive what belongs to you. Not because you waited long enough, but because you have grown into the version of yourself who can handle it. Blessings do not come when you want them. They come when you are prepared to carry them responsibly. Think about what happens when a cup is unsteady. If you pour water into it too quickly, it spills, breaks, or overflows. But when the cup becomes stable, still grounded, ready, you can pour blessings into it freely. You are that cup, and your readiness makes receiving possible. You are stronger now. You are wiser. You are calmer. You are more mindful of your energy. You protect your peace. You recognize red flags sooner. You avoid draining connections. You choose yourself without guilt. You speak truth without fear. You rest without shame. You heal without rushing. And because of all this, you are ready to receive blessings that once would have been too much for you to hold. Many times in your life, you ran after things that were not meant for you. And even when you caught them, they slipped away, leaving you confused or heartbroken. That's because you can only keep what aligns with your spirit. Nothing forced can last. Nothing chased can stay. Nothing built on fear can grow. But today, you are becoming someone who no longer needs to chase because your energy has begun to match the frequency of your future. Your spirit is rising. Your intuition is speaking. Your awareness is awakening. And the moment your inner energy rises, the outer world starts to respond. Receiving requires quietness. It requires sensitivity. It requires faith. It requires trust. It requires patience. It requires openness. And these qualities were built in you through every challenge you survived, through every person who left you, through every moment you felt alone, through every delay you did not understand, through every rejection that redirected your path, through every prayer you whispered while wondering if anyone was listening. Those moments did not break you. They prepared you. They trained your spirit to recognize what is meant for you. They trained your heart to know the difference between force and flow. They trained your intuition to sense what aligns with your purpose. You no longer fight for people to stay. You no longer beg for opportunities to accept you. You no longer chase validation from those who cannot see your worth. Instead, you stand taller. You speak softer, but with more power. You move slower, but with more intention. You trust deeper, but with more discernment. You love openly, but with more wisdom. This is the shift from chasing to attracting. This is the shift from fear to faith. This is the shift from desperation to alignment. When God says congratulations, He is acknowledging that you have arrived at the threshold of a new energetic reality. From this point forward, your blessings will not require you to sacrifice your peace. They will not require you to shrink yourself. They will not require you to prove your worth. They will not require you to chase. They will come because you are ready for them. They will come because you have become the version of yourself capable of holding them. They will come because you have stopped forcing and started trusting. There is a quiet power that comes from knowing your worth, a subtle strength in understanding your path, a calm confidence in trusting your timing. This quietness is not weakness. It is alignment. It is the knowing that what is meant for you will not pass you by. It is the knowing that you do not need to chase what God has already prepared. It is the knowing that your energy is enough. Your presence is enough. Your effort is enough. It is the knowing that the right opportunities will recognize you without you shouting. The right people will gravitate toward you without you forcing. The right blessings will find you without you searching endlessly. Your next chapter is about receiving not because life suddenly became easier, but because you became clearer. Clear in your boundaries, clear in your purpose, clear in your intentions, clear in your standards, Clarity attracts clarity. And as you become clearer, your path becomes clearer. As you become more peaceful, your blessings approach with peace. As you become more authentic, the universe removes everything inauthentic from your life. As you heal, you attract what is healed. As you grow, you attract what is grown. As you elevate, you attract what is elevated. Receiving also requires space, and life has been clearing space for you. Sometimes painfully, sometimes abruptly, sometimes confusingly. People left so new ones could enter. Opportunities closed so better ones could open. Plans fell apart so alignment could fall together. You were not losing. You were being emptied so you could be filled. You were being decluttered spiritually, emotionally, mentally. Every ending was making space for a beginning. Every loss was making space for gain. Every delay was making space for alignment. And now that there is space, blessings can arrive without resistance. Look at yourself now, how far you've come. The version of you reading this is not the same person who once begged for crumbs of attention, chased temporary validation, or forced outcomes that drained your soul. You are becoming someone who attracts because you have become someone who trusts, and God sees that transformation. God sees the shift inside you. God sees the awakening in your spirit. And because of this, He whispers to you today, congratulations. Your time of receiving has begun.